All right, welcome to board meeting for Thursday, August 13th. Crazy that it's already August. I will read the part that patrons' comments may be submitted via email to info@murrayschools.org until 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting, which is right now. We will start, I guess I have to do roll call. We have in attendance Superintendent Covington, Board Member Darren Cooper, Board Member Flo Merrill, Vice President Belinda Johnson, Board Member Elizabeth Payne, and our Business Administrator Richard Rees, and then other district staff. And then I'm Board President Kenny Anderson. We will go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance, and Belinda, in honor of the Mass, will do that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will move on to approving the consent agenda. So I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Glo. Have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Thank you. And any opposed? We will start with our delegations. MEA.
Good afternoon. I'm going to break with my tradition of just winging it, and I'm going to read something today. Sorry. All right, as president of MEA, I'm honored to represent our members and teachers in Murray District. It is always a privilege to represent and advocate for these dedicated professionals. I have been impressed with the determination and selflessness that our teachers have approached this year with, intending to provide the best education possible for our students. Having said this, I would like you to know that there have been difficult moments. Fear, trepidation of the unknown and of the known. Teachers have been asked to do things that they have never had to consider, from risking health to providing a quality education for our classes in hybrid, at home, and in person for elementary, and as well as online for secondary. So secondary is doing 3 modalities. We also have elementary teachers that have agreed to teach online classes in addition to their regular hybrid and in-class duties. I know that they want to do the best job they possibly can. Not to mention learning additional procedures, adding supervision time, among other responsibilities and requirements that this unique situation requires. I want to say that I appreciate, and the MEA leadership and teachers appreciate the district leadership, especially Superintendent Covington and her leadership and always looking out for teachers and for our students. Assistant Superintendent Bushnell, as well as directors Melissa Hamilton and Robin Williams, have done everything they can, I believe, to make this work. We also appreciate, I think, David Roberts, right? in obtaining the supplies necessary to keep our kids safe. Our principals have returned to work this August, and if you look at them in the eye, you can tell that they've been drinking from a fire hose. They have been inundated with information, procedures, requirements, and expectations that are almost overwhelming. I emphasize that I said almost impossible. At least that is what I believe at this point in the journey. I think we can do this. Our effort to staff, our support staff, ESPs are dedicated, and I have been impressed with their dedication to keeping the building clean, even if that means asking me to get out of my room so they can spray it down. I believe that this endeavor is going to require 4 groups to do their part. I've mentioned administration in the district and teachers. Now, Monday, it will be up to the parents and our students to do their part. On Monday, we will ask our students to comply with the health regulations, wearing masks. That's going to be difficult. We're going to ask students to work in whatever modality they've chosen and to keep up and to do their best. We're going to ask teachers to be prepared for students and to challenge them and to not let these students fall between the cracks. We're going to ask parents to understand and maybe not send their kid to school at 7 a.m. when it starts at 8. That puts a tremendous amount of supervision and pressure on staff and teachers and administration. We're going to have parents be understanding that we will reply in as expedient time as possible, that we will get back to them. It might not be immediate. It might not be exactly when they want it, but we will do our best to reply. And forgive me if I forget whether you're online, hybrid, or in class. I have a hard time enough remembering names without masks, right? MEA leadership has spent countless hours addressing teachers' concerns through worries, tears, and other emotions. We'll just put it that way. We have also worked diligently with the district staff to make this as successful as possible. We will do everything we can to help, but understand that sometimes we will push back a bit, not to be difficult or obstructive, but as I said in the beginning, to represent and to advocate. We love our teachers and our students and want what's best for them. We appreciate the new technology, additional time that we have been provided. We also appreciate the agreement that we were able to reach in an amazingly short amount of time this summer. I think that maybe negotiations when it's 100 degrees outside speeds things up. MEA will continue to work to these ends and look forward to making this, if not the best year, the most unique and epic year in Murray history. To quote, I'm a history teacher, you gotta get a quote in. To quote Chris Kraft, as the damaged Apollo 13 spacecraft was speeding towards the moon, I hope this year proves to be our finest hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Durfee. Matza.
Well, I have nothing like Mark said, and it is, Mark, thank you for your words, and I just want to thank everyone. It's been a crazy back to school. Teachers are working hard, teachers are overwhelmed. I think everyone in the school is a little bit overwhelmed. Everyone's working really hard, but we want to thank the district and our admin for all the support they've given us. We could not do this going back. I think we're all a little bit nervous for Monday and what it's going to look like and how it's all going to roll out, but
we're trying our best to make it a great day for kids, and we're excited to see their faces and see if we can keep everyone safe. And I think we will see truly what this will all behold, because I do feel are as prepared as we can be.
Thank you, Ms. Burnside. Ms. Buck.
Your town, just want to express my gratitude for the district for always looking at the new things changing. Let you know that as meeting with the custodial, because that's who I meet with most with, but we're all here working hard, as has been said, to make sure everything's safe and as ready to go as possible. And I've seen the teachers at Liberty not even thinking that they're close because of having to make changes to accommodate different things. And, you know, I don't have the stress level of teachers of, you know, having to change this and that. My stress level is this clean enough for that? Same with the bus drivers. I mean, I can only imagine the stress of the bus drivers of coming in, making sure the kids are sitting down, sanitizing the bus after that. Same with our secretarial staff, our kitchen staff. Just incredible to see and think of, you know, all their stress of, well, hopefully everything's going well enough and so forth. As far as I can see, we're gung ho, ready to go. You know, everybody that's coming, let's go. Now, I just want to iterate to a positive to some of the kids I've seen come in. It's a hit and miss, and it also attributes to the parents as to the masks. I've seen kids from 3 years old wearing masks because mom and them have been instilled that, and that's what they're doing to, you know, the older kids that as a high school and junior high is going to battle to, you know, I'm too cool to wear the mask, or I don't need to wear the mask. So I think it's going to be both directions, but I also want to thank, this is on as far as the elementary, but the support that superintendent has helped push for us to have an added benefit of somebody else to come in and help us. I presume you help as well, but to alleviate a little bit of our time during the day for cleaning and sanitizing that, and greatly appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. Foundation, Jean.
Okay, well, the only thing I have to say is the only thing consistent in life is change. And it's been continual this year, and the golf tournament looks totally different. You wouldn't even recognize it, but it's full. We have a gold, we have 2 silver, we have a bronze. And so we'll probably make just as much money this year as we have done in the past, except mulligans are going away. And the California trip has gone away. I don't know if you noticed, but pretty much travel has been canceled this year altogether. And so we're pretty sure we're not going to get that. But we have, I feel like, a very great community that's still willing to support us. There's not going to be the donations of the prizes like we've had in the past. The donations have kind of gone to the wayside a little bit as far as retail and restaurants and those kind of things. But I think it'll be an awesome tournament. I think it'll have a lot of fun. And I know that I always invite you to lunch, but you can stay home this year. If you really want to come and see it, that's great. Make sure you have your mask on. And we are going to do lunch, but it's going to look a little different. We're certainly not going to be longer doing it, and we're actually doing it as they leave the course. They will pick up their box, their prizes, and go ahead and go home. And hopefully they will still have an awesome time. I think it will still be fun for everyone. So anyway, and that's pretty much it. We have scheduled Pinnacle for October 29th, the makeup one. I don't know if that will happen or not, but we'll see. Maybe by the 1st of October, we'll know. So, anyway, and I appreciate all your support. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jean. Doug, patron statements.
Today we have just one from Heidi Peterson. Let's see. I am writing as a concerned parent regarding guidelines for the start of the 2020 school year. I'm unable to attend in person due to safety guidelines for people with multiple sclerosis and immune deficiency disorder. I want to make it clear that I believe that most important thing is to make sure that all students, teachers, and administrators are safe during these trying times. My concern is the decision to treat sports differently than the arts. I understand that each group is governed differently, sports by the UHSAA and the arts by my Murray School District. Even taking this into consideration, I find it unnerving that safety guidelines are different for each group. In addition to this, I have been informed that the final decision on fall sports moving forward this fall falls into the hands of each individual school district, i.e. Murray. The safety standards for students should be the same across the board. By not being consistent with these guidelines, the district is subjecting themselves to any forms of discrimination. Please refer to the Murray CARES guideline, athletics/activities and performance, as well as mitigation tactics for specific school setting and minimize outbreak probability that the district governing body has put out and clearly shows possible problematic situations for activities. It is apparent that people feel as though sporting events are less likely to pass on and contract COVID-19 than performing arts. I would also like to call to attention that the Murray High School cheerleaders are posting videos and photos on Instagram and of them practicing in the school with no mask and no social distancing. This is sending a very conflicting and inconsistent message to students. In addition to this, once school starts, these students and administration who aren't following safety guidelines are putting other students, faculty, and families at risk. It's extremely important for the advisors of each group to enforce safety guidelines, including social distancing, wearing a mask, and proper safety precautions. And there needs to be accountability if they do not enforce proper safety for all. No person from the top administration down to any faculty, staff, school sponsor, family, or student would like to have the responsibility or legal ramification of an illness or death of anyone who has contracted COVID-19 from negligence in the Murray School District. I ask that you consider your decision and enforce the same safety guidelines for all students, faculty, and activities.
Thank you. All right. We appreciate all of our delegations being here and each of you taking the time to come and comment. We really appreciate it. We'll start with our report of the board and we'll start with Belinda.
A couple things. With the High School Activities Association, they put out protocol, a quick protocol of what we're expecting the school to do. Would you all like that email to you? There's a long version and a short version.
Short version.
But if you're getting any questions, it kind of clears up, like we're having 25% of capacity and you have to have an electronic ticket. And that wasn't decided by the association, that was come to by the principals in the valley so that every school was pretty consistent. So you knew what to expect, but I'd be happy to forward that to you. I just want to thank everybody on our staff and publicly thank you for the positive attitudes. My sister had her first day back in Granite District on Monday. She's got a really great attitude about everything, but she came home in tears. She's like, it was like the worst day because all I heard all day was how bad things are gonna be and how bad the decisions are, to this board down. And I know, like Mark said, we have a lot of questions and anxieties, and Jill, you know, we have anxieties, but I feel like Maria's really put on a brave face, and then we, have a lot of people taking the best attitude they can, and I appreciate that, a lot. And, so just to go with bravery, a few years ago, Dr. Grassi and I heard a speaker at school board convention, and she talked about how big is your brave. And we just all gonna have to put on a courage. You have to be brave to show a brave face to your kids, to your colleagues, but just ask yourself how big is your brave to start the school year. Let's hope and pray for the best.
Thank you, Linda. Elizabeth?
I don't have much to report, but I just wanted to echo the appreciation for all your hard work, and I know it's gonna be, it's gonna be a challenging time to get used to and the new way of things, but I know that we can make it work, so thank you.
Sure.
I would like to echo my appreciation for the district and all the staff that have worked so diligently the last 4 or 5 months trying to figure out how we're getting to this point where we're ready to start school next week. I know that has been a lot of long hours, challenging discussions, and still we have unknowns that will probably be a part of this process as we move forward. I also want to have a few comments towards our teachers. First of all, I want you to know that we do hear you. And we know we are asking you to do something that is very, very challenging and difficult. We believe in you, and we need you. And we want to continue to hear from you so that we can improve this process as we move forward. And I look forward to hearing all the great things that are going on, the successes that we've accomplished, the things that we can learn together, so that when we look back upon this whole situation, we are still learning, we are united, and we are even better than we are today.
Thanks, Jerry.
As I was looking out at the people here tonight, every one of you probably had many phone calls and parents wondering about what will it be like. And even with Mark, I'm sure the teachers have been exceptionally stressed because they have no idea what it will really be like. And I appreciate very much Robin for bringing in a couple of ladies, and I don't remember their name, but equity and bias in Murray School District is going to be very different than ever before. And after our meeting, there was a Zoom, and it had some former students. And we just have to make sure that our students are safe and that they feel like someone knows them and likes them. And I think that's critical. And I know that we have all the right people. We have great principals, we have great secretaries, great everyone. And it will be very different this year, but I know we will get through. Just like Marcus kind of mentioned, that Murray will always be the best forever.
All right, thank you, Blue. I'm so emotional up here, which is so stupid, but one of my many faults, I get emotional, so I'm just going to move on. We will move on to our report of the staff, and I'm not sure what order we're going to go in, but negotiated agreement with the Murray Education Association, that's Scott.
Thank you, President Anderson, and I'm going to ask, now see how you make it. I'm going to ask Mark, you want to come up? I'm going to ask Mark to come up. I'm reporting out on the negotiated agreement with the Murray Education Association, and I want Mark to stand side by side with me. We'll social distance, make sure that this is legit, so at least 6 to 8 feet, whatever you want to do. I just want to let you know that we stand side by side, that I feel it an honor and a privilege to work with the MEA, with the association. Mark, for your leadership, for your board, for our teachers. I want to thank all of our employees, Thane and Jill and everyone. I want to thank everyone. Tonight I get to talk about the Murray Education Association and negotiations. Again, thank you. We've worked together for quite a while now. And again, I think we have a great relationship in Murray, and I'm proud that we have established that and worked together in this district. So thank you for your words tonight. Thank you for all you do. I'm guessing I'm probably not alone in many of the comments that have been made tonight. It's hard starting a new school year anyway because of the anticipation. I have butterflies every year when we start school. For 32 years now, actually probably more than that. When I was a student, I had butterflies going to school. So been a lot of butterflies over the year getting started with school. And it's the anticipation, it's the unknown of what the school year will bring and those kinds of things. And obviously this year it's compounded, and it's compounded heavily with what's going on. And so that anticipation, it's that anxiety of not knowing what to expect. And as I've reflected on that, and I've tried to understand all of what's going on, and certainly the heavy lift that we're asking our employees and our educators and our teachers to do. As I was thinking through this, I realized, despite however difficult this is, I would not want to do this with anyone else than the Murray City School District. That's who I want to lock arms with. That's who I want to go into this with, our wonderful employees, all of you. And that makes me proud to be here in Murray and in the Murray City School District. So I thank all of you, and I thank all of our teachers that I'm able to work alongside them, and would not want to go with any other group. I want to thank the legislature this year. We were very fortunate in a difficult time that we have the funding that will allow us to continue on through this school year, and funding that will allow us to pass that on to our employees. We have come to an agreement. I want to report on the agreement with the Murray Education Association. The negotiated agreement includes a 1.85% cost of living to the 2021 teacher salary. $50 of that, or 0.092, is going to be added from the TSA funds. As you remember, 500 was added last time, and another 50 to make that 550 total this year. Steps will be funded for eligible educators. Lanes will be fully funded. And we thank our educators, those who participate in the district's health insurance. They will assume the increase of the insurance premiums this year. We also had some changes into the language of the master agreement. There were 3 or 4 changes. And Mark, I hate to put you on the spot, but one that Mark said he was very appreciative of, so I'd like for him to just share one thing we were able to negotiate given this unique year regarding leave. And let me just let you share that.
So one of the concerns is always sick leave for provision. Reminds me of my long hair days, right? So our provisional teachers are always very concerned, and with the COVID situation, we were able to look at the requirements by the federal law that will expire, and I can't remember what the law is called in December, but we were able to look at the savings that we actually had from last year's fund. And so all the teachers will, in addition to their negotiated sick leave, will have the 10 days of COVID family sick. And then they'll also have the 10 days additional sick leave for COVID related leave. So that was a big relief to our teachers. And then in addition to that leave, they'll have their normal leave. So we appreciate that, and hopefully we won't need it, knock on wood, and it will all work out. But that safety net is very, very important and very appreciated, especially by our newer teachers.
Mark, thank you. So to conclude, thank you again for the negotiation piece. Want to thank all of our employees and special thanks because we're talking about the negotiations with the teachers. A special thanks to our teachers in the Murray City School District for all that they've done and all they will continue to do. We can't thank them enough for their efforts and wish them the absolute, wish all our families and our students the absolute very best as we begin our school year on Monday and as we embark on this journey together. So do you have any questions for me regarding negotiation? Special thanks to you. You really make this happen. So thank you. Bottom line, thank you all very much. So.
All right, thanks, Scott. Do we need to do any kind of motion on that, Richard?
Yes.
So, I mean, to
Just accept this.
the agreement for the, okay. So, I'll give a motion to approve the negotiated agreement with the Murray Education Foundation.
I move that we approve the negotiation agreement with Murray Education Foundation for 2020.
And a second? Elizabeth, and any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed? Great. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Darren, it looks like you are up next with the memo of understanding with the school administrators.
Yes. And then a couple more after that. I'm the next group.
All right.
I thought I'd just bring some policy cheer to everyone. So you should have in your board docs, hopefully the ADM policy 216, memo of understanding. And we're just adding one change in red to this. It's been kind of a unwritten thing, unwritten contract hours for administrators have always been 30 minutes before, 45 minutes after, ever since I joined the district 17 years ago. But we searched through policy and agreements. We were never able to find this, but it's always what we've been told. So we're like, let's just make sure we have it in policy, that our administrators know that, you know, that's the minimum, but high quality leadership takes a lot more than that, and we know that. But we just want to make sure we have that in policy. So that's that one. I don't know if there's questions on that. That's pretty straightforward. The next one is a brand new policy. So I guess I could have put it all in red. And so this next policy is the Murray City School District LEA specific educator license endorsement requirements. So if you remember, the state has turned over to the districts the lovely task of licensing or preparing our educators. And we decided as an option in Murray that it was best for us to send our folks through the university if they're coming through an alternate route. But we do have to have a policy, and the board needs to pass it so that we can hire teachers that have, say I have a bachelor's degree in family development, that I could be hired as an elementary teacher in the Murray School District, contingent upon going and getting my teaching certificate at a university. But I will, hopefully if this policy passes, then I will present to the board a list of all our teachers and the rationale and why we did hire those folks. So this policy outlines it. The first part in 3A talks about eligibility requirements. And this is what the state requires. They have to have a bachelor's degree or higher in a related field of study, complete their criminal background check, complete educator ethics, and then that Roman numeral 4 is the Utah State Board of Education has 4 modules that all educators have to take. Those are each 2-hour modules. It's kind of like, here's your quick list to get up and started, and then we'll turn you over to the district for extra support. B is pretty important, so Jen, if you'll scroll down a little. So as a school board, I will present to you a list, and you can authorize for up to 3 years as a local board, an authorization for them to be a licensed teacher. So that will be something you will get to, I believe, probably vote on. And then going down to approval, that's just the timeline for the approval and the rationale, those bullets there. I will provide you with the rationale as why we're asking for that. Verification if they've been able to get into their university program. Some of our new teachers aren't going to be able to get in right away, but we're still able to authorize them later. And then also, why is there an inadequate supply? And like people we're hiring right now, you may have seen a couple of jobs posted. Yeah, there's not a really good supply of quality candidates out there. So sometimes we have to look at some other methods. The conditions, D there, applicants in the district, we are going to put them serve under temporary at-will employment agreements that can be terminated at any time at our discretion. Let's see, in Roman numeral 2 there, if there are some unique positions where someone may have a lot of industry experience or so forth, and the board authorizes them for 3 years, but there's really not, it might not be tenable to go do a path to get an educator degree, and then we can send it up to the State Board of Education, and they can give them further authorization. So that would probably be a rare instance. If they sever their employment with the district, their license ends. Number 4 there is we are not authorized as a district to do special education or preschool special education. The next part, number 4, is just our mentoring program. We have our instructional coaches in all of our schools. They will be the primary people that will take over the mentoring duties of these folks along with their administration. And we'll develop a plan to help them progress, and we'll make sure that they get enrolled in the program. And then Jen, if you could go down to the very last part, Superintendent. So the very last part, there's some stuff we have to put on each school's website that has employees that have the LEA specific educator license. We have to put the percentage of the licenses and the endorsements and the educator lookup tools so they can look up those educators. So a couple of things that we will need to take care of with our website as we get those approved. And so, and we've got a handful. We always have a handful every year. So I will leave that for your first reading consideration. I don't know if you have questions at this time.
I don't think so. Read through those and you'll get questions.
It's not really a question, but we're all in it, so I'm not trying to, but the school websites have kind of been hit and miss for a long time. So some of these things are coming, if we're having to have them on the school website, I know that's,
I think,
we're getting things, when we talked a long time about standardizing our school websites, you can, yeah.
have you checked them lately?
No.
I think we're on a good trajectory. Doug has been working very, very hard with our schools, so.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still got a little ways to go, but we're getting
We don't
there.
want something, I guess my, we don't want something little like that to come back as why we weren't doing what we were supposed to do.
And it seems like a lot of times with a lot of policies that are developed, they always want something more on the website. So we can keep adding to those websites. The next item I have is the registration update for the board for our schools. And I don't have a document for you, but I'll just give you, and I don't know if you were planning to pull that up.
No, because it's hot off the press and it's a hot mess.
And it's probably changed already. So we have a total of 5,746 students registered as of just earlier today. Of those 5,746, 1,134 are online students. So right around a fifth. Our projected enrollment and our total number of Aspire, we are right around 6,300, 6,296. So if you're taking the 6,296 and our 5,746, we are down 550 students as of right now. I looked at the previous year. Last year, we had a nice little bump in enrollment and we picked up like 176 kids. This year, we just have a lot that have not made any decision. So we don't know what will happen within that 10-day enrollment. I don't know that we're going to pick up our 550 students. That seems like a tall order. And I think there's a lot of parents that may be deciding to homeschool or charter or go other ways that just haven't informed us. So still to register, we're just under 9% of our students still need to register. So typically we like to, we're aiming for 6,300 and we're just shy of 5,800 right now. So not the greatest enrollment picture, but I think it's understandable given the situation we're in. And so we will see what happens. We do track first 10 days of school, the enrollment, and we'll be tracking that very closely so we can see where we're at.
We report that to us again next month.
Yes, we will report it to you again next month. Happy to.
During the 550 students that aren't registered, are we reaching out to them? Can we reach out to them, find out where they are, what they're
Yes,
doing?
our secretaries always reach out. We can make sure that the principals and secretaries are calling those homes to find out where they are. It's been an interesting year because we've had a really short run up to school in the midst of a pandemic, and so
Yeah.
I'm not sure how far we are on those calls.
So that's a lot of calls too, so.
Yeah, it's a lot of people to call.
I anticipate that you will have parents and students showing up the very first day to register.
Yeah, and we always do. And I guess the question is if it's going to be more than last year. If it was 550 is a whole lot more than we've ever had. So I hope they all show up. That will make for a busy first day. So,
Yeah, and I wonder, it's just a different year, so you just don't know what will happen.
Yeah,
And if other districts are experiencing the same situation,
they are.
okay. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed that those kids land where they're supposed to be.
yeah, all right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Darren. Elementary literacy plan, I'm assuming Nikki.
Always. So nothing huge here. I was asked to get reapproval, I guess. There were two structural changes. The two board, they wanted me to indicate that those matching funds right there, the 254 and 219, are board local levies. So they wanted me to identify that. And then if you go down, nothing structurally has changed, like the minutes of instruction, all of that stuff. Right there in number 3, I thought I took off those comments, sorry. They didn't want me to put so many paragraphs. They didn't want me to outline it in the 5 areas of literacy, so they just wanted me to smoosh all of that together, so I smooshed. And because of that, they wanted me to get another approval of the plan. But the plan overall, the structure of the plan has not changed. So, but they did want me to indicate that the board levy is identified, or what funds those came from. So. Not the quickest presentation I've ever made.
I really need to busy.
I know, Missy's gonna make us do some reading activity.
Do you need a vote on
I
that?
do.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the changes to the elementary literacy plan. And any, or second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And any opposed?
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Equity training, I'm assuming Robin.
Perfect.
I'm gonna take a little bit of liberty, and I combined the last two together, if I may, just because they do fall under TLT, and wanted to highlight both the equity training and then also our learning options and the work that's gone along with that to support our teachers. So with this document, I know that you've seen this because it is part of our guiding documents for reopening schools. And if you look in there, there are many things that fall under the task or the responsibilities of our TLT department. And it also frames a lot of what we've been working on, whether we are talking about implicit bias and equity, or whether we are talking about the learning options and the staff development and professional development that we're providing to our employees. And I think it's important to highlight that idea of flexibility, adaptability, and then also equipping our educators for success. We also have really been trying to highlight clear and consistent communication, especially because we're in a rapidly changing environment and we have a lot of different things that are happening that make it important for us to have communication channels, even though we can't necessarily be really concrete in many respects. We want to make sure that we're getting done and saying what we need to do. So with talking through professional development, in June, when we sent our teachers off, we did provide supports for Canvas. We also provided opportunity for teachers to work on professional development over the summertime that was of their choosing, and things that they felt were most relevant, whether that was the technology support, Canvas support, and then many people were choosing the social emotional supports and many of those other arenas that made the most sense based on what they had dealt with since March and with the pandemic and teaching online at home. In on July 29th, we were able to bring in Dr. Mahan Reynolds and also Ms. Zarneski, who worked with our administrators and some of our school board members, which I'm appreciative of your time that you were there with them. It was a fantastic training where we talked through implicit bias, and it was not in an accusatory fashion. It was in a fashion to talk about the fact that we each have unique backgrounds that we bring to circumstances, and then looking at, are those unique backgrounds, are there times that we can look at our classrooms, when we look at our interactions with people, are there things that we need to do to open up our hearts and minds to make sure that we're serving the needs and honoring all of the people who we work with. With that being said, I also think that there were some very concrete conversations that happened that were important for our administrators to be able to ask people to say, are we helping kids or are we harming kids? Because one of the fears that I'm hearing from administrators and from our teachers is just as schools reemerge as a community after they've been gone for 5 months, are there going to be clashes between students that are similar to what's happening out in our bigger society? Are there going to be opportunities to have conversations about the social unrest, about the pandemic, about all of this in a way that honors kids and doesn't create chaos that teachers feel like they need to be afraid of? And with some of that, sometimes we have teachers who aren't sure when to take a stand or what to say or how to correct. And so as I've talked about listening, there's also this other part that we're learning more and more about, that is our silence. Sometimes is the worst thing that we can do, or is to say we can't have a conversation might also be the worst thing that we can do. So it's been, I think, really poignant for us to be able to have those conversations in a safe environment where we're working with people who aren't attacking us. They're merely sharing their personal experiences and their stories. And what we did in the afternoon was to continue to have a listening with care panel, and it represented 12 people in our community. And Glo mentioned that they were former students, but they were not Murray students. And I did that by design because I think sometimes we go to a very defensive place if we think they might be talking about us, or if the panelist is speaking specifically to a teacher who is a part of that. With that being said, I think some of the stories were very hard to hear, and sometimes it's hard to believe that those things happen in our community. everything from overt violence and ways that people were treated to more subtle types of things that are happening to our children and to our families in our community. And I think it was very powerful because the format of this was to allow the 12 of them to talk with moderators, and the rest were our teachers watching on YouTube. And there were some sparks of upset on the comments between teachers on YouTube, but I think that also as they kept coming back to our panelists, the big ask for there was to say, are you listening? Are they getting to tell their story? And then each of those panelists, I think, had a compelling call to action. And I would highlight for you, I believe, Jen, were you able to share the link with them before that I had the comments? Did you?
Probably not, I'm getting to know, so.
Well,
Not the link of comments, but the link of the videos.
Yes.
right. So what I have here that I'm very happy to share is the link to the video. I looked tonight and there's almost 800 views of that now. Now, it could be that some people just popped in and popped out. I don't know if they watched all 3 hours, but the fact of the matter is we have 800 views on that video. And I've actually had a lot of teachers reach out to me and ask if they could watch it because their colleagues have told them how valuable it was. With that, we had 203 who signed up. At any given time during the broadcast, we had about 180 who were participating. And with that, I've had 140 responses. Again, I have links there that are really, really powerful. When I'm having a down moment, in fact, I've even shared with Jen on a couple of occasions, those are something that I'm going back and reading because these are written by our teachers, and I asked them to respond to a couple of the prompts, and I had people write back and say I responded to all 6 prompts because I have a lot of feelings that I want to share with us. And some of the conversations and some of the prompts were not always all that comfortable. Joshua Chamberlain, who is 26 years old, a former student of Olympus High School, he said the quote that he would like to have everybody know that he's not after anybody else's $100. He doesn't want anybody to give him $100. He just wants the same opportunity to earn $100 as everybody else has. And it was a really powerful moment. We had Dr. Emma Houston, who talked about, I'm not going to get the quote right, but basically she talked about the difference between being invited to dance and being invited to the dance versus being invited to dance. And I thought that was another powerful comment or quote that was made, as well as, like I said, a lot of compelling stories that were important for us to hear. So I'm very, very pleased where we went with this listening panelist and the response that we had. I would like to highlight for you that we've been jam-packed since July 29th with teacher trainings, new teacher training, and we've got new Hudleys, we've got a lot of training that's going to be happening next week, which we're very grateful to be able to have our students be released early so that we can continue the training with our teachers. And next week, we will also have some of those same panelists who will be returning. We'll have Dr. Dominguez, who will be working with our secondary teachers. He is the BYU law professor who you may have heard on that panelist discussion. We also have Dr. Thompson and Michelle Loveday, who are longtime educators who will be working with our elementary teachers and have fabulous ideas about how to have honor and conversations in classrooms at the elementary level. And we also are bringing back our very own Carol Anderson to talk about unprecedented times and taking care of the social and emotional well-being of our students. All right, so the next part of the agenda, I'm going to pause for just a second and ask if there are any questions of me about the equity and implicit bias training.
I just left and it took me hours to just keep going back about this and this. And it just changes your whole person inside of how we look at other
Thank you, Bob.
Are we doing any kind, I know a lot of training for the teachers, any type of training for our students at all on this kind of equity bias? Because I think we've all expressed concern that these kids haven't been together for a long time, and there's been a lot of upheaval. What's gonna, what's it gonna look like for them?
One of the things that we have talked about with our faculties is that we do not plan on leading out heavy with academics and curriculum. And we have talked very much about rebuilding culture. And one of the soapboxes that I've gotten on with many people is that I think about how phenomenal our kindergarten teachers are. And if any of you, I mean, if you remember your own children when they were in kindergarten, if you've ever experienced volunteering in a kindergarten classroom, I know that I moved from being a high school principal to being an elementary principal, and I was blown away day one of kindergarten because those kids come in with very different backgrounds, with very different ways of interacting. Everything from the student who is very rigid with controls and very used to that kind of thing to the student who's a wildling and has not ever been asked to share the toys or line up. And you look at the way that those kindergarten teachers build culture very quickly to talk about, here's how we do business, here's how we treat each other with respect, while layering that in with learning and teaching. And they sing song along the way. The kids learn their routines and they want to be a part of that. And I share that as an example because I have told many of our teachers and principals that we need to think about the fact that our rebuilding of culture, we may be needing to tap the shoulders of our kindergarten teachers and say, what songs do you sing when you want the kids to act a certain way? And I laugh about that a little bit, but honestly, when in working with our secondary coaches and developing that plan, we had our 2 junior high schools who have fundamentally changed their schedule for that first week. And for a lay person looking from the outside, it may seem like they're doing the same class all day long, but really what they're getting after is there are protocols that are COVID related that we need to cover, but then there's also this way of doing business about hallways, going to lunch, how do we work within the classrooms, and in addition to that, Kim, it goes back to the idea of the social emotional piece, like connecting as a community. And so you will see that layered in with our schools as they rebuild that. And with the 2 junior high schools with that extended schedule, they intend to do that for the first couple of days. And then Friday, their plan, the best laid plan is that they go through a normal day, but they also have a plan B, depending on how things are going and how they're feeling. And quite frankly, if you think about the fact that our kids have now only been gone for 5 months, and the school is going to be very, very different when you think about the schedules and the way that we routinely did things, but we also don't know what trauma has been going on. And I would venture to guess that every single family, regardless of their protective factors, there has been trauma. It's been hard for all of our kids. And then if you layer in the loss of jobs, the loss of income, potentially family members who have been sick or who have passed away, and many other things that we probably can't even imagine, we know that it's going to be tender in a lot of respects. And that is one of the things that we very much have been talking about. Thank you. Thank you. So this the next section, we just wanted to highlight for a couple of minutes the work that we've been doing as a TLT team to support our teachers and staff as we think about inline, online, and hybrid. And you know the numbers that we've shared with you, and that Darren shared some of that with you as far as where we are at for online only commitments. And the numbers that we ran today are about 22% of our elementary students and secondary students, about 18%. And this is with verification and additional information to say, did you check the right box and are you certain? We continue to have at the secondary level kids who are going back and forth between those. And I do think that people are watching the numbers
from the county, as well as they have their own personal decisions for that. With elementary and secondary models and supports, it's pretty amazing to sit down and start to see all the documents, all the training, all the conversations, everything that is happening to try and support this. And I think that honestly, these are some pretty big categories, but as I share these with you, I'm betting Missy's going to, when I ask her to come, we'll be able to share probably 50 other things that I forgot to mention, because the pace has really been just one thing after another, trying to figure out how to best support everybody with what they're being asked to do. And if you remember, one of the things that was in the reopening schools plan was talking also about communication. And so that ability then to catch up the right people, whether we're talking parents or staff, also has become one of those things that we, right now, on the fly, are learning how to use Parent Square. So I let out with like the first big mistake, sending out to online parents all this information contained in one email, 3 different documents that they needed to agree to, and they could only agree to one. So I led by example. With mistakes, had to send a follow-up email to parents saying, I'm sorry, that was so aggravating. Here's how we're going to do those same documents. Sent one out today, and knock on wood, haven't had any complaints or concerns come out. So we are learning that piece of things. But I do want to go back to this idea of online, hybrid, and in-person. There are a little bit of differences between our elementary and secondary, which I'm sure you're well aware of. With our secondary, we are asking almost all of our teachers in classrooms to be prepared to teach all 3. And that has come in the form of supporting Canvas as the platform, and that teachers are being asked to upload daily their direct instruction. They're being asked to make sure that they have viable assignments and communication that go back and forth, so that our online only parents can have a level of confidence that it's looking very similar. And when I say that it's not all of our teachers, I'm sure you can think of like home construction would be one of those. There are a couple of our concurrent classes that are not viable because of the level of performance that's required. So we are asking that students and families meet with counselors to figure out if there's a better choice for those few classes that we're not able to offer on an online environment. I do think at the secondary level, a lot of our parents changed their mind from online only to hybrid, because we have really communicated to parents that hybrid is in person. That's what it is essentially, but it's giving parents the option of every single day deciding if they want their students in school or at home learning. And with that in play, obviously there's guidance that has come down from the state that we've had to tackle attendance reporting procedures and how we're keeping track of students to know if they are at home and doing something or at home and not doing something. How are we tracking the student participation in addition to physical participation at the school? So, again, I mentioned a little bit with the schedules. There's a whole lot more that goes into it than just saying there's kind of different schedules and choices there. But the biggest core point that we've been making is supporting our teachers. And what does that look like with instruction? And that is not only the technology and the Canvas side, but we've also had a lot of teachers now rippling in with saying, here are the COVID procedures. So how do I do what I've always done this way? How do I do that in this classroom if we're social distancing and I have a classroom that's very much based on discussions and movement and that type of thing? And so Missy and I have both done extended Zoom hours, and we are both working with our coaches in order to support our teachers both with the technology and the LMS side of things, as well as the actual classroom instruction. I mentioned earlier parent communication. We are using Parent Square. We're learning it. We're getting better with it. And the really nice thing is that we have kind of this ripple effect now where when we're putting out communication, we're sharing that with our principals. And so for parents, it might feel like they're getting doubled up because they've got this district message and then it came out this way from the principals. That is by design for two reasons. One is that it allows the school to tell you what that means at that particular school or how they're interpreting that, what nuances they might have. Additionally, it's an opportunity for parents to hear the message twice so that they're saying, okay, yep, I get it, I understand what that is. And the very last nice thing about that is it gives parents a place to respond to or ask their questions if it doesn't make sense to them. And with that being said, I'm going to ask Missy, if you would come, please share the elementary work, because again, I think that she has quite the heavy lift and many other nuances here.
So as you heard from Darren, we have, of those students that chose online, we have 20, just shy of 23% of this enrollment in elementary that are going online. So that's about 600 and some change of students that are going to be online. That ended up needing, I believe it's 3 kindergarten teachers. We needed 4 first grade, 4 second grade, 3 third grade, 4 fourth grade, 3 third grade, and 3 sixth grade. So it was pretty tricky. And you know what, I have to give a huge shout out to those teachers that were online, that some volunteered, some didn't, but they embraced it and they understood and they were willing to do it. Well, they were voluntold, because I like looked at them with desperate eyes and they said, okay. I called in every favor I could. No, they've been very gracious and very great. And honestly, when I looked at the list of teachers, I was like, oh my gosh, have you seen their Google Classrooms last spring? They were fantastic. There's some really good learning going on. So now it's been a matter of, troubleshooting what that looks like, from how do we make it work and it be a little less heavy, so that when we're teaching in the classroom, we're recording and we're maximizing our time so that we can post some of the stuff for hybrid and some of the stuff for online, and then we take online a little bit deeper. But we're still, maximizing the time that we are live and in front of kids. I have several of those teachers that said, can I do it live as well? Like if my online kids are available at 11 o'clock and that's when I'm teaching reading, can I Zoom it live and let's try it? And I said, heck yeah, just record it, because not everybody is going to be able to tune in at that right time. So there's some really out of the box thinking going on, and even things that I hadn't thought of. So they've been fantastic. We're getting those huddlies as soon as we can. We decided that huddlies is a terrible plural, so we decided on huddles, like teamwork. So that's going to be the new plural. And so as soon as those come, we're going to be able to deploy those as quickly as possible. In the meantime, we have a couple of workarounds there. But I can't be more pleased with what my teachers are doing. It's a big lift. They have the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they're just amazing for what they're doing. Not just the online teachers, but the in-person with the hybrid. That's tricky, and it's tough to wrap our heads around that. And then they're asking the right questions at the right time. In terms of parent communication, Parent Square is out there. It's pretty easy to use. Superintendent launched a message today, and she goes, oh my gosh, it's already out there. And it hit phones and everything right away. So kind of cool. So hopefully if you guys need a crash course, we'll teach you. It can, yep. So parents get to choose. So they type in, if you download the app, you type in the phone number that you have associated. Elizabeth, have you done it? So you type in the phone number that's associated on Aspire, and then they can choose whether they want it. I didn't do anything. They type in the phone number from Aspire that's associated with them, and then they get to choose, and they can choose the language. So any post that we make, they can go in, and there's like, oh my gosh, Doug, how many languages did we see on there? There were oodles, huh? Yeah, there were tons, like it was scroll. So they can choose what language. They also get to choose, like if they want that via email immediately, via text immediately, or if they want to just get those notifications like at 6:30 p.m. But if we have an emergency text, like we have a lockdown or something, we can override all of those settings and send it out. Teachers are already setting up, like our kindergarten teachers are setting up appointments for our kindergarten students to come in and do testing. So they send that out and parents get to sign in, kind of like Sign Up Genius. And parents get to sign in for all of those, and then all of that is through that app. So it's really gonna be nice and streamlined.
And the teacher stays more lighter.
Yeah.
This is really your home base of.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. And then it's also got a little widget that if we do a post, then Doug can push the widget if he wants to, and it'll go straight out to any social media platforms that we have. As secretaries enter events on ParentsWare, it automatically populates to our websites. So it's really pretty cool and neat, so. But that's all.
Right. Just a couple more things that we've been working on. We have developed a student university and then also a parent university that will be pushed out via Canvas. And when we say parent university, really what we're trying to do is to give a one-stop place that gave tutorials to parents so that they feel like they can access Canvas, they can access the Aspire and really know what's going on with their students. A lot of parents in the springtime, we were made aware that they didn't have any real idea that they could actually go in and look at comments from teachers on assignments that have been graded. There's a way for you to really look at how your student is doing overall. And so we've been developing those, and we'll share those. The nice thing about these is what we've done is schools then have personalized those. So I know for a fact with Riverview, they've embedded it into a Riverview parent university, and then they have a lot of things that are in there that are valuable for parents of Riverview. And then just a couple other things. We had principals and teachers who asked to take Darren's training for the COVID protocols, make that friendly for students. So went in and developed PowerPoints that then they can push out to their students that actually have videos and things that are a little less scary, but really kind of pointed on building community and those big protocols that they can do with social distancing, washing their hands, and wearing masks. And we have all the normal stuff too going on. I think that I venture to guess that the entire district office were not sleeping in pretty long hours that go on. And just huge thanks to our team. And the one thing that I left off that I have to say is that our teachers are second to none. And when several of you were talking earlier about working in Murray and why you work in Murray, I think that the graciousness, the care, the tenacity, and the professionalism is like none other. And you all know that I've worked in several districts. I have people to compare it to, and absolutely heartened by the bravery and by the stellar nature in which our teachers, our classified, our support personnel are moving forward. So.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Looks like it's Superintendent Covington next.
All right, thank you very much. I'm here to talk about a couple of things with regards to our reopening plan. But in the spirit of everything that has kind of gone on tonight, I do want to I want to say to the board how much we appreciate you. We are grateful that we have a board who supports us as a district, who looks out for the well-being of our students, our families, and our employees. And I want to say thank you we have set a plan and we've stayed with that plan, not because we don't want to change it, but because we haven't had any evidence that needs to be changed at this point. And thank you for that. I think that means a lot to our families that we have stayed consistent. I'd like to echo what Assistant Superintendent Bushnell said. Unlike Robin, I have only been in Murray District, so I have nothing to compare it to, but I do talk to a lot of colleagues, and while I know every district is dealing with what they need to deal with, I can unequivocally say I would not want to be anywhere else at this time than with the individuals who are in this room, the board, the district team, our Murray Education Association, our PTA, our MESPA, our MASA, as well as our teachers. And I want our teachers to know, and not just our teachers, our educators as well, all of our educators. We know this is hard. We know that this is a big lift, and we do not discount that in any way. And I appreciate what you said, Belinda. Now's our time. We're going to need to say how big is our break, and we need to, we're going to go forward, and I have every confidence that whatever happens and whatever we need to do, we will be able to do that. And I just want every employee of Murray City School District to know they are valued, they are appreciated, they are heard, and we are here, and we appreciate and I'm so thankful that we are continuing to see that we have Murray Spirit. So with that, the first thing I want to discuss is I want to ask for consideration of the board in our plan, in our Murray Returns with Care plan, with regards to performances, and these would be choir, concert, band, concert, theater performances, dance concert. We did put it was advisable at this time not to have large group gatherings come together. And we ask that our school administrators and teachers look for alternative ways to show these performances. As Belinda spoke, the several school districts have gotten together and have returned to play spectator protocols. As part of those protocols, Principal Wahambi, I apologize, we are limiting capacity to 25%. We do have a ticketing system. They have been using that for a couple of games. Tomorrow night at the Murray High football game, it will be kind of our first big test. But he has gone through and we can fit 289 individuals in our auditorium at a socially distanced. And so what I'd like to ask for consideration of the board this evening is to allow our arts, our choir, our theater, our dance individuals to be able to hold those performances with all of the same protocols that we have in place that we are doing. We have the ticketing system, we have mask requirement, but being able to allow those groups to have the opportunity to have their performances as well, again, following those same protocols that we are doing with our athletics. So I'd ask that the board consider, if you would like to consider that, if that's something you feel at this time we could make a change in our plan, or if that's something you want to table and talk about and then come back to it another board meeting.
Is that, for both this and the sports, is that for like immediate family only, or, what is that look like for the last?
Yeah, so the way it's working is currently the first set of tickets, it is for parents, and in athletics, it is for parents of those students who are actually suiting up. And so that went out, it goes out to the parents first, and they can request those tickets. And then after that, they're opening it up to the student body, and the student body can go in and request those tickets. So
There a limit on how many of these families get?
yeah, two, parents can get two.
And then you get a code, so the parents
Right.
get a code, and then students get a code, and then.
And there's a code of conduct that everyone needs to sign, and they have to show that as they come in the gate. So yes, it is first for the parents and then for students, so. And that is being limited to Murray High School students, not to junior high students or elementary students at this time. Hopefully that.
And I don't know if it opens up to community members after that, or.
No, it is not opening up to community members. We are limiting it right now to parents and students at this point. We are not community members. We do have it streaming. So, and we can do the same thing with our arts. So we're streaming as many of our athletics as we can. We've got a streaming service that has been very kind to work with many schools. And we intend on doing that as well with our arts performances.
Arts would be the same way, we open up to parents and then it would open up to students.
Yes, it would be the same. I would propose we do the same protocol where we have parents first and then students.
There's kind of an added bonus to those kind of performances because you could have more than one night and have more people then. So you could say 2 nights of dance concert and then you have more parents. So that's.
Do we need to make a motion, or we can just discuss that?
You can discuss, we're fine, I did check on that. This is not policy. This is just approval, so we, as a board, you can discuss it, and if you say, we would agree to make this change, that is fine. So anything in this document, because it's not policy, it doesn't have to have, like, it's probably better to have a motion, but it doesn't have to have 2 readings, those types of things.
Is everybody okay with making that change? Do we want to table that for another discussion?
I feel both about it.
Okay.
I think it keeps us we're really far down below 3,000 though that we're indoors.
Yeah.
Not allowed to have, so I mean, really.
Well, what's your thought?
I think we need to just add on the arts and just watch the numbers of the students as well as the parents. So maybe a large choir would be one night half of it and the other night the other half. Because we do have some large groups and other groups are small.
Even in their numbers on stage.
Yes, yes.
Sure.
I think it makes it consistent.
Yeah.
That's what is important for everyone.
I have a little bit of a hard time putting athletics over arts. They should be kind of treated consistently.
Like access to all.
Yeah. Because really it isn't all of our kids. It's, I think we're leaving out a portion of kids that are involved in the arts and having them have the opportunity to show their talents.
One thing we could consider, we could put the same protocols in place as we do with athletics, where they need to have a temperature check before they perform. If that would be better. We can't temperature check everybody, we don't temperature check everybody coming into the audience, obviously, and our spectators, but if that's something that would be some additional, we could say that you need to have, prior to the performance, we need a temperature check from everyone.
I would feel more comfortable with that. I think my biggest concern is that, the science says that performances, especially singing, are high risk. But I absolutely do not want to discriminate against the arts and let the sports, be able to do the things that they do here, so.
I understand your concern there.
And perhaps, I do know that at least at one school, while the weather is good, they have talked about perhaps doing the concerts, the performances outside. Now, that will become a little challenging if it's not all on the Murray High football field, because there's no way, but they're trying to be creative and think of different ways to do that. That of course won't work as soon as we get into winter, but I completely understand what you're saying with the respiratory output.
So the seating arrangement numbers were based on using all of the rows in the auditorium.
Correct.
If we were doing a musical performance, we could reduce some of those a little bit, extend the distance between those observing versus those performing and make that.
Sure, absolutely. And I think that's very doable because of the fact that we have multiple performances. Sometimes for a theater performance, you can schedule that over 3 days. So yes, so then more people could, so yes, we could absolutely do that.
So it sounds like we're okay with that as long as the staff, and which I know they will be, is making best decisions to make it as safe as possible, using some different nights to spread it out if needed. Is that what we
I
understand?
think that's fine.
Okay.
So there'll be a process to approve that, so if the drama teacher has a plan, does that go to, that's what we'll have to do that approves it, or are we just making the assumption that they are going to follow?
That's an interesting question because the sports falls under the association's protocols.
Right.
So that'd probably be a good thing if Scott, or not necessarily Scott, one of his assistant principals had to.
Just to maybe keep it consistent so that one concert is not different than the other, so they have consistent protocols across the board.
You bet.
Or
We
they
can do
just
that.
want to set a protocol.
Yeah, exactly,
Everybody
like
has to-
this is what you have to do.
It applies to everyone.
Let me do a little bit of work on that. Let me reach out to some other districts and see if they have kind of a protocol. Let me also take the athletic protocol, see if I can work something up, and then I will send that out. But if you're amenable to that, we can kind of work on that, and I will let, right now, they don't know that we're doing this, but I'm sure they will be very glad that we may, well, some did see it on the agenda and said, does that mean we might be able to do this?
Maybe look at, Zach getting to be in our district. I didn't mention on Facebook how impressed he was by what Canyon was rolling out for arts.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe look at what Canyon, he was just commented how excited and impressed he was.
I can reach out to some other districts and see how they're doing that.
All right, thank you for bringing that up, because I think it is important to have a protocol for them to follow.
Great.
I would suggest that the theater not to have, 200 kids when it's on the drama, that they have smaller, they still have theater, but it would include some years, there's been 200 kids.
Just like the junior highs.
I think as long as we set some kind of protocol, say, this is how many kids we can have,
Sure.
Because I know with the athletics, they can only dress a certain amount of kids.
Right. 50 on the sidelines is
Yeah,
all they
50 on
can
the
have at
sidelines.
football and.
Maybe there's a stage number.
Yeah, that's great. I'll do some work on that. So if you're amenable to us looking at that, I think that will, I agree. I'm like President Anderson, I do have a little bit of a concern if we're allowing for athletics, but not for our arts. And we certainly want our students to have the opportunities, no matter what they participate in, but we also want to make sure it's in the healthiest and safest way possible. All right, the second consideration that I'd like for the board to discuss, each of you, I did send you an email from an employee who was concerned about the fact, this statement right here, that staff will have their temperatures taken daily when they report to work and will confirm that they are symptom-free, not feeling ill, and have not had exposure to COVID-19 in the past 10 days. And so the protocol that we currently have is staff members will have their temperature checked by an employee in the building, and each building has figured out how that looks. And then there is also a sheet that they need to sign in the office, I believe in most of them, that they do need to initial that they are not feeling ill and have not had exposure that they know to COVID-19 in the past 10 days. This employee, as you know, is concerned that we are letting students self-check their temperatures and doesn't feel like she does feel like it is showing distrust in teachers that we are not allowing our staff to be able to do the same thing. So I did let this individual know that I would certainly bring this to the board and we could have a discussion. I have contacted the Salt Lake County Health Department. They don't have a recommendation either way on temperature checking for staff or employees. I also contacted 3 districts in the Salt Lake Valley, and they're not temperature checking their employees, nor are they making them sign that they have not been exposed in the last 10 days. So with that, I will ask President Anderson if he would like to have a conversation with the board and we can make that decision which way we'd like to go with this.
We'll start with Jaron, because we started with this last time. So Jaron, your thoughts?
Even from my personal work experience, we started initially with temperature checks, but as we went into this more and more, we found that they just weren't as big of an indicator as we thought. So I'm totally fine if we choose to not make that part of the process.
Yeah, I feel like, I guess my biggest thing on it is that we're asking our families to monitor themselves, and so why are we not asking our employees? I think when this was first written, everybody was doing temperatures going into places. I think, like Karen said, it's not really a great indicator either way, like it can be a little high or a little low. So that would be my reason to say let's not have them sign orders because we're asking the same the families.
Thank you, board. Melissa.
After reading her email, I did change my mind about how I felt about it, and so I think that it's okay for the staff and our teachers to self-monitor.
I had a temperature of 107 when I came to the district office. I said, I would be dead. I did not have a temperature. My daughter had 88. So,
Can I ask one other question?
Yeah.
So are we, apologize if I should remember this.
You're fine.
Are all employees required to sign in as they check in, or all the parents required, or whoever drops anyone off? How are we keeping an idea? My question that really comes to, if an episode does occur, we need to have some kind of way to contact trace who may have been in the building, who may have been there, and the signing of some sort.
Right, so with our employees, we will know, because if they are absent, we can run that out of our asset management system. If we have any visitors that come into the building or substitutes, they are all required to have a temperature check. That is a mandatory, that is something that the health department absolutely recommends. If you have outside individuals coming in, temperature checks, face masks. And again, a list of who is in the building. We are keeping our buildings, for the most part, well, we are keeping them locked, if you remember, and very much limiting the number of individuals that come in for that express purpose, because we need to be able to contact trace if they come in. So there will be a sign-in, there will be protocols when they come in, so that we can do that.
So it sounds like we're going to move forward with that. I don't feel like, I hope no teachers ever feel that we do not trust them. It was just one of those things that, you know, it was written in a policy. There's a lot in this policy.
I think board member Payne said it very well. It's not that we don't trust the teachers, we don't trust the virus. And so that's why we had put it in originally. I think that was a very good analysis of why this was originally in there. So thank you. We will make that change and we will let our employees know that. The other thing is, my last thing is, I would like to ask for a closed session to discuss personnel and property. And if that is approved, I would like to ask that Darren Dean and Scott Bush will stay, and then Howard Rich can be excused.
Thank you. All right, closed session, Jared.
Yes.
Bo? Yes. Linda? And Elizabeth? Right, we will go into a closed session after a short 5 minutes.
Thank you. All the good kids go home and all the bad
Story of my life. Thanks again. Best on everything. Thank you.
Yeah, they are.
David, good work.